October 2024 is going to go down as the month of Endymion rumors. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. I was on Valliant Renegade stream the other day with Endymion and a bunch of other legends, including my lawyer, Ron Coleman. And Endymion started off talking about how he heard from his source that Sony themselves was shocked when it came to the reveal of Ghost of Yōtei. Or Yōtei, I still haven't figured out how to pronounce this game. But not just shocked with the reveal of it being a woman, but also shocked at how the game itself was received in general by the gaming community and the subsequent fallout that followed after Erika Ishii got unveiled being, let's be honest, a pretty blatant activist. Sony did not see the community reaction and backlash coming from having the woman protagonist. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article breaking down Endymion's latest rumors about how Sony executives apparently were caught quite off guard with Sucker Punch's latest reveal of Ghost of Yōtei. Now, first off, I'm going to be clear about these two rumors that kind of intertwine and intersect each other. The first of which I don't necessarily believe wholeheartedly, but at the end of the day, Endymion has been fairly accurate with what he's been talking about, and this source that he has with Sony seems to know what's going on there, so I guess we'll take it with a grain of salt, a heavy grain of salt, but at the same time, it does give us some insight as to just how out of touch Sony really is these days.
Yōtei apparently, like I said on Flash's thing yesterday, Yōtei blindsided a lot of people at Sony apparently that weren't too knowledgeable on the game. They were under the impression that they were going to get another Ghost of Tsushima. So when they saw Atsu, that's the new main character, the woman, they were like us. They were like, what is this?
Now, before everyone jumps down my throat, or even Endymion's, let's take a step back here and realize Sony definitely knew there was a female protagonist. They bought Sucker Punch back in 2011. It doesn't take 15 plus years to develop a game like this. I mean, hell, Ghost of Tsushima has come out since then anyway. So no, Sony definitely knew that this game was being created by Sucker Punch, and they had some sort of understanding and grasp as to what it was going to cover. I feel like that's fair enough to say. Not to mention, how could they be confused about this woman being unveiled at a state of play that Sony themselves puts together? Like, it doesn't make sense. The rumor doesn't make any sense unless you look at it from the perspective of Sucker Punch wasn't being totally honest with them and they wanted to really shock the world, and they were worried that if they told Sony the direction they were going with the game, that Sony would have been like no and put the kibosh on it and put it actually as Jin Sakai as the follow-up lead protagonist to making the sequel that everyone actually wanted. Potentially, okay, but even then I'm like, man, people at Sucker Punch would be in a lot of trouble for lying to Sony. So again, I don't necessarily put much weight into that rumor, but at least I wanted to bring it to you because of the second portion of this, which I found extremely interesting.
When they saw the backlash to Yōtei, they are not happy at Sony.
Yeah.
Like, they are not happy whatsoever. They were like, they really thought they had the next, this.
Now that I do believe. I think Sony is so completely out of touch with their fan base that they actually thought that this was going to be progressive and they'd be championed for doing the brave and stunning thing of putting a female lead in one of their main properties.
What I heard about Ghost of Tsushima and Yōtei, it's actually far more bleak than I could imagine. Like Ubisoft and others, Sucker Punch also makes games in a way that my sources told me are called made by committee. Anyway, they'll propose an idea like they'll say we want a male main character or a female one, and then the committee of devs will then say yes or no, and then they vote on what gets made. Like, we want more diversity, please vote yes or no. We want the story to push anti-white supremacy, say yes or no, etc. This way of making games, as I'm told, it leads to why a lot of activism nonsense makes its way into games these days.
Sony's response, or rather lack of anticipation in regards to fan reactions, reveals just how out of touch they could be with the game community. Ghost of Tsushima has an incredibly loyal fan base, myself being one of them, and we fell in love with Jin Sakai's story. We wanted more of that. Changing the focus to a new character, especially one with very different backgrounds and gender, was bound to be very contentious when it comes to the game community, particularly for a franchise with such a dedicated following. Not to mention that the actress that they chose for the role is an activist that said some really questionable things online that I covered in a previous video that, okay, personal life, you can try to separate the art from the artist, but you gotta imagine that they knew that this was going to be going into it, and this is a big risk that Sony was undertaking by casting Erika Ishii as Atsu.
And I was also told that the voice actor for Atsu in Ghost of Yōtei is a nightmare to work with, and even other woke people think that she's absolutely crazy. But again, this is what I'm being told. I don't want to accuse the voice actor too much because I can't verify this 100%, but yeah, from what I'm being told, they are an insane woke activist that makes other insane woke activists go, damn, that chick is one insane woke activist, man.
Ishii's activism, which includes her extremely vocal support for defunding the police and strong opinions for transgender rights, among many other very questionable and contentious stances, are not really great for bringing the community together right now. And Sony should have anticipated that casting this type of person would invite scrutiny, especially given the charged climate around the gaming industry's intersection with social issues these days. But the backlash wasn't just about the character, it was about the perception that Sony was pushing a broader agenda here, one that the fans weren't necessarily interested in being a part of. In fact, we even had Sony's previous chairman, Sean Layden, say, hey, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Which we all know, when you tell your customers to boycott products, typically does not end well. So honestly, I'm not really sure how to feel about this entire rumor in the first place. It's a little bit suspect if you're telling me Sony themselves, who owns Sucker Punch Studios, had no idea that Sucker Punch was inserting a female lead into one of the biggest properties that they have right now, and then to say on top of that, that they're also surprised that when it got unveiled, that they were shocked that it was a bad surprise for the fans and that no one took too well to it. It doesn't really add up. It doesn't make sense, because if you're the fan base and Sony looks at it and they didn't know it was going to be a woman, then why would they be surprised at the reaction? Because they'd be like, oh wait, it's a woman. That's why people aren't happy about this, because the fans have already shown that they give backlash to this.
I was also told, and take this with a big fat grain of skepticism again, but apparently most of the competent devs have indeed left Sucker Punch quietly already. I cannot confirm this, but from what I'm being told, the key talent behind Tsushima have left amidst the second game in the series being made. I was told that originally Yōtei was not the original game idea at all. It was actually indeed Ghost of Tsushima 2 starring Jin Sakai. But sometime during development, a lot like Shadows, the game was halted and then completely changed in vision.
In the end, it's clear that the higher-ups at Sony are seemingly losing touch with what players wanted. They underestimated the connection fans had with Jin Sakai and overestimated the enthusiasm for a dramatic shift with a new protagonist. If that is to be the case and believable with this rumor from Endymion. Again, take it all with a grain of salt. I just found the story fascinating.
Apparently, work began on Tsushima 2 around 2 months after the official sales data came through on the first game's success. A skeleton crew was left behind to work on the Legends multiplayer, and the same team made the Iki Island DLC expansion as well. From what I'm told in terms of Yōtei, the team that made the Iki Island DLC are the primary devs on this game, and the actual Sucker Punch that's left is allegedly mostly working on something else. Take this with your grains of salt or whatever people say, but yeah, Yōtei was not the original vision, and key talent has left Sucker Punch, just like it happened with Rocksteady when Suicide Squad was being made as well. I was also told do not expect Yōtei in 2025 at all. Apparently the game's nowhere near being done, but it's a very slim chance at best that this game actually releases in 2025.
Ghost of Yōtei may still indeed find its audience eventually. It's clear Sony's gamble is costing them right now in terms of loyalty and trust with the product. And considering the mixed reactions and internal confusion right now going on all around this game, this entire episode is just one more sign of just how disconnected they've become from the players that built their success in the first place. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, full story listed on smashjt.com. I will link this in the description below. If you appreciate what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. What is the deal with the angle of all this communism from the game industry? Why do they want
this mantra of, I know we all know the answer. I just want to hear you. Why is it so centered around communism's okay and good, and we need to push this communistic message to everyone and use gaming as the outlet for that? I want to know your take on that.
Because they're losers.